Hello and welcome. Let me just start the music. Let me just check it's on. Hello. Yeah, whoops. Sorry about that. I was just checking that the music was on. And then posting the socials as usual. Good. I've got some of them ready today. And of course the Discord post as well. And today we'll be reviewing the Lunartics later on in the video. I might play around with different formats at some point of recording or of broadcasting somehow the review and the charts separately to make it easier for people to use. But anyway, let's get started. So let me take down the music. So welcome to the daily NFT market health analysis with me, Daniel Tenner, aka Swombat, where we look at what's happening in the market in terms of the data that we're collecting and try to analyze it and try to figure out what's going on. It's particularly important in volatile times like this, where things are like there's a lot of conflicting messages in the market, and we've seen that there's a lot of volatility in the index itself that we're seeing right here, like with this kind of like going up and down by quite substantial amounts of volume. And the market is quite febrile, would be the term, I think, with the other side release happening tomorrow. And all sorts of news coming out. They've now set the price. It's not going to be a Dutch auction. There's going to be a fixed price. That fixed price is quite high. There's actually, I think, technically not enough. Some people have suggested there's not enough actual ape tokens to buy everything at that price, which is going to drive up the price of ape tokens, which all seems very unnecessary to me. Lots and lots of hype, which is why I'm not really interested in that, and I'm not going to be buying it, but a lot of people are. And so people, much like with Moonbirds, have been selling out other stuff to go and buy ape so that they could buy the other side release. And then there's this kind of dynamic that I like to call hype ambulance chasing going on in the market. And it results in these kind of drops where, at least I believe it results in these kind of drops where the volume just collapses. But it started rebounding. Now, the thing is, prices across a lot of projects, and there are some exceptions, but prices across most projects seem to have gone down. So if we look at niftyprice.io as an example, oops, sorry, did not mean to maximize this. And I'd quite like it to actually be in the middle of the screen somehow. Right, if we look at the prices here, you can see that there's a lot of red. Like there's basically Bored Ape and Mutant Ape, which is up as usual because they're being propped up by the other side release. Clonex is also up, but then Azuki, Artifacts, Doodles, Meebits, despite the fact that there was this whole like, yeah, they're going to work on Meebits next. Even the Kennel Club, VFriends, Beans, NFT Words is hardly up and is down 30% on the week. Like everything is down. And people are talking about like the market bleeding and being a complete disaster and all that kind of stuff. And they're right in the sense that, the market is bleeding. The prices are down. Like I can see this across the collections that I'm tracking, that I'm invested in, that all the prices are down. And I'm seeing this as a temporary thing. And that's my choice. And, I have evidence for why I believe that. But it's up to you to make up your own mind. Now, one of the pieces of evidence is I see this. Like, the volumes did go down, but they're now coming back up. And I think people are seeing these buying opportunities and they're buying. We're seeing a little bit of this as well in Zeneca Old, a little bit delayed as usual compared to the top 10. We're not really seeing this in Zeneca New. It's still down, but it will happen, I think. I'm not sure if I'd call this a rebound. This is still a disaster on the women-led projects. But on Zeneca Old and top 10, we are seeing a little bit of a rebound in activity. If we look at the bar chart, we can see that there's a mix of projects. There's still a fair amount of Kennel Club and the mutant ape being traded. I think that's great. Actually, let's look at the legend just to be sure. So if I open the legend here, there we can see that that's Doodles, that gray. No, the gray one at the bottom, the beige one at the bottom is Bored Ape Yacht Club. The really light gray one at like underneath is like the one right at the bottom that you can see around here. That's CryptoPunks. Then this one, for example, that's Bored Ape Yacht Club. Above that is Mutant Apes. The lighter brown is Cool Cats. Still not seeing very much activity. And I think that's NFT Worlds, this one, that we're seeing peeping up here. So there's a little bit of activity. It's still somewhat concentrated on Yuga Labs, which is not unexpected given the current situation. But there is activity, and when there's activity, that means there's liquidity changing hands. And when there's liquidity changing hands, that means there's people with suddenly 30, 40 ETH in the hand, thinking, well, I'm going to take some of that out, but I'm probably going to buy some, and I'm going to reinvest some of that. And so seeing this, I mean, obviously I don't know for sure what's going to happen, but I'm not too worried, especially since there's this big thing happening literally tomorrow that I think will release a lot of liquidity in the market. I think a lot of people will lose a lot of money tomorrow, to be honest. I don't think it's all so rosy. I'm somewhat skeptical of these kind of super hyped releases, but it is what it is, and I'm an observer of the market. I can't necessarily change it. If we look at the longer term picture here of the top 10, we can see that, yeah, we dropped, like we're definitely no longer in this kind of super steep rise that we were in there. We're also even no longer in this one that was a little bit less steep, but we're still, like, it's still a rise, and, you know, we'll see. I think one of the key matters is, as we go up here, do we make a higher high? Which I think, because of the other side release tomorrow, we probably will get a higher high. People will sell apes, and like there will be a lot of things changing hands. So we'll get a lot of liquidity sloshing about. I think, I'm guessing we get to here, maybe even to where we got with the ApeCoin release. Who knows? Which, just as a reminder, happened here. I wouldn't be surprised if we get back up to that volume. If we do go all the way there, we then should expect a crash afterwards, unfortunately. If we just go back up here and start consolidating and then building up from here, that's probably healthier. So let's see what happens there. At current volumes, I mean, assuming they diversify a bit and it's not all Yuga Labs trading, we're actually at reasonable volumes. These are good volumes to hang out at. Even where we were here was not so bad. It was like, it could be higher, but it's not like, you know, deep bear market level. There's still like, you know, people buying stuff. So I think that's it for the top 10. As usual, by the way, if you have any questions, don't wait until the end to type them. Just feel free to type them up in the chat, and I'll do my best to answer them before the review. If we look at Zeneca Old, here we see that there's also that kind of bullish pattern. We are making higher lows. Not very impressive bullish pattern, and there is also a bearish pattern in terms of these two. So we need to see where this ends up. If, like, you know, if it goes like this, then we are definitely in that kind of so-called flag pattern, and we should worry what happens as we approach that. If, on the other hand, we get, you know, something a little bit higher, then we're in a sort of different pattern. But the lows are going higher, and that's a good sign. So, and if you look here on the longer term picture view, you can see this kind of support line holding relatively steady. So we'll see. Obviously, does the other side release help this market and lead it to go up or not? I can't tell the future, and I can't tell you that. Not that I don't want to tell the future, but just don't have the ability to do that. And as for Zeneca New, there it's not so hopeful. It's kind of like gone back down and flattened out here at a really sort of poor level. And it's, yeah, at very, very low volumes here. Thanks for the question, The Light. I'll get to crypto just after the Women-led Projects Index, and I'll address your question. Thank you. As for the women-led projects, we saw that it collapsed over the last few days. Unfortunately, it's like it was sort of doing a sort of sideways trend with a fairly high volatility here. I mean, maybe it's still going to go back into this range and come back here, but right now it's just gone down. It's rebounding a little bit. I wouldn't be surprised if we're in a new range going sideways, or even if we start just trending downwards as well, as we have been for months there. So that's it for the charts. Let's have a look at crypto quickly and talk about the correlation between crypto and NFTs, because that is important. Hold on, all my windows got covered up there. So the status update of crypto is basically nothing. We're still in this kind of boring pattern. There's a lot of volatility. As we approach the edge of that, like the end of that flag pattern, we should expect the volatility to increase. So that's not unusual. So it's basically being very predictable in its unpredictability. The question is, like the $1 million question there, which if you knew the answer to that, you'd probably make a lot of money, is it going to break to the bottom or is it going to break to the top? Because we've got this short-term trend going down here and this long-term trend going up. Now, about the direct correlation between Bitcoin and the health of the crypto market with the NFT market, yes, there is definitely a direct correlation. Bitcoin basically indirectly, because it influences the price of ETH. I mean, if you look at these two charts, they're very similar. They're extremely similar. Like I could draw the same lines on, like, you know, if you superimpose them, they're almost the same thing. Some would say that ETH has been doing slightly better than Bitcoin, but you know, it's if you didn't know which chart you were looking at and I took away the numbers and I asked you to guess, and you haven't been just studying these charts very closely, you might get it wrong. You would probably get it. Well, I mean, you'd have a 50% chance of getting it right. So ETH is actually what we're looking at, but Bitcoin is basically the same as ETH, so it dominates the market still. And what happens? So there's a few factors I think that happen. One is that when ETH drops rapidly, people panic and they don't want to buy risky assets like NFTs. So if you see a rapid drop of ETH, like here, for example, volumes tend to dry up when this kind of stuff happens. Let me use a thing so I can draw. Yeah. Volumes tend to dry up in this kind of situation because people are panicking. Like, you know, they see the volume dropping a little bit and then they see it dropping like this. You can expect usually panic for like the next few days after that, and people not wanting to buy anything because they're afraid that it's going to keep on going down and stuff, and they don't want to buy. They don't want to catch a falling knife, is the expression. Some people buy the dip, but a lot of people who have been in the market longer just wait to see things stabilize. Conversely, also, when you see this pattern where it goes up steadily for quite a while, that also tends to affect the NFT market and dry things up, simply because when you have a currency that is appreciating every day, you're less likely to spend it on risky stuff. So if you see it going up like this and you think that it's going to continue going up, which of course it never does, but if you think it's going to continue going up, and humans have a tendency to expect that things are going to continue the way they're going, then it's better to wait until it stops going up before spending it, because you know that like there's a kind of almost certainty that it's going to continue. There's a very high likelihood that it's going to continue doing the thing that it's doing. Whilst if you put in NFTs, it could go anywhere. It's perceived as very risky and so on. This also is usually not a great pattern for NFTs, though it wasn't too bad in this one. We had good volumes going on there in March. It's like a climb in volumes. But usually this kind of pattern is not good, and you can expect NFT volumes to decrease the more solidly bullish ETH gets over a longer period. The same happens, of course, if ETH just shoots up to the top really rapidly. Like if it hasn't happened for a while. That like I can't remember the last time it happened. Like, yeah, these kind of situations. The best situation for NFTs is usually when ETH is basically stable. So this kind of situation, like we have here, that's pretty good. Here, that's been pretty good for NFTs as well. Here, before it started going up, like we had maybe a couple of days where it was all right, but then it went bad again. This was like in December, the volume started building up, and in this period, like this is actually it continued going like NFTs were doing really well throughout this period. Actually, I think there were some drops, some short-term drops when ETH was going down there, but NFTs were doing really well throughout January. So this period, end of January, was actually like massively bullish, and the beginning this period as well. Sorry, there's too many of these circles. So just to be a bit clearer, maybe I'll pick a different color. I don't know where to pick the color. Okay, never mind. Like this was bullish. There was a bull market here, and there was a like euphoric bull market here as well. But usually when there's rapid volatility, it's not good for the NFT market. Usually, keyword is usually. It also behaves differently from time to time. So you can't just rely on looking at the crypto market to decide what will happen. A notable example is that here from July to August, Ethereum was rising, like through August and stuff, Ethereum was rising. Okay, there was a period here where it was kind of stable. August was the breakout month for NFTs last year. That's like there were huge volumes happening at that time, and it was a very very good time for NFTs. So when events outside of crypto are propelling NFTs to the mainstream, obviously this is not going to apply as much. And yeah, so it depends what the factors are driving the activity in the NFT, but in the NFT world. But usually we want the currency to be stable. That's the ideal situation. If ETH just stayed within a range of $100 forever, that would be really great for NFTs. It would suck for all the ETH investors, but it would be good for NFTs. I hope that's okay. Hold on. So NFTs should follow altcoins in a way. When BTC is stable above the bull market support band, NFTs. Well, the thing is, they don't have to be stable above the bull market support band. So here, I don't think we were above the bull market. Like I think we went above the bull market support band around here. Like if I look at Bitcoin, August, let me just put the bull market support band here. Right, so we only went above the bull market support band here in well, I suppose, yeah, we were above the bull market support band here and relatively stable. So you might be correct that the bull market support band helps, but we also have then here, for example, we had a massive like euphoric bull late Jan, and that was below the bull market support band, and early Jan as well. That was also like late December, early Jan. That was also below the bull market support band, and it was still really great time for NFTs. So I don't think the bull market support band is necessarily that relevant. What's relevant is more the stability of the currency, which kind of makes sense. You know, you want to be trading in a currency that's stable, otherwise it doesn't serve its purpose as a currency very well. Which is maybe a criticism of the fact that we price everything in a currency that's not stable. So thank you very much for the question. I hope this was helpful, and let's go into the Lunartics. So as a usual disclaimer, this is a cold review. I don't know this project. It's like I literally looked at it for the first time today because I was looking at like I was wanting a screenshot to put in the thumbnail. I don't know anything about it. It's not a fair review. Maybe there's some amazing stuff that I don't know about this project that makes it much better than what I'm going to assess, or even some awful stuff that makes it much worse than what I'm about to assess. I can only give my impressions, my thinking process, and hopefully that is useful for some people to understand how I think about these projects and like what leads me to choose to look more into it or not look more into it, invest or not invest, and so on. So first things first, okay, nice graphics. Yeah, it's like clearly done by an artist who's competent. It's currently in Mint, but you need to connect your wallet for that. And I'm not going to connect my wallet. I'm using Safari to do these things. So just in case something goes wrong, it doesn't tell us anything about why we want the project other than the fact that it looks good. Let's read here. Lunatics have their moon bags packed. Armed with tiny bodies and even tinier minds, Lunatics have been making desperate attempts to moon it since 1969, blah, 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 blah. Created by Fox animation legend, notorious writer Danny Fressman. Each season will launch a new series of animated videos of the Lunatics' most futile and embarrassing missions to the moon over the past 50 years. Vote an upcoming mission and have a voice, and if they're lucky, see their character pop up in a future episode. Okay, so and rub shoulders with an exclusive community of creators and animators. So the immediate vibe that I'm getting from this is the artist launchpad with a kind of like an animated series. I don't know if they're already doing this animated series and they're just funding it more with this or getting some more of an audience with this or something. But it's the artist launchpad vibe to me. Like they're creating some kind of artistic universe and inviting people to jump in and help collaborate in creating it. And it, like, you know, the usual dynamic there is if the artistic endeavor there is commercially successful, then the project will be commercially successful and these will become collectibles that are very valuable. Like it's the J.K. Rowling model. If this becomes the next Harry Potter, then owning one of these will be super valuable. And if it doesn't become the next Harry Potter, if it becomes if it doesn't deliver a really, like, it doesn't have to be Harry Potter. I mean, that's a ridiculously high bar to set. If it just became a really popular series that, you know, people like, that would probably be enough to make the collectibles valuable. Like if it became like the Powerpuff Girls or Samurai Jack or whatever, like probably showing my age there in my Cartoon Network memories. But if it became one of those, then yeah, it would probably be successful, as in the collectibles will start to have value. But it's basically you buying collectibles that connect to an artist or a couple of artists who, if they are successful, will then accrue value onto the... I don't know why there's a giant blank space here. I wonder why. It looks like there's a box here. There should be a video here or something. Let me try refreshing. Ah, there you go. There's a trailer. Okay, let's just watch the trailer quickly, or skim through it and just... It's like some artistic stuff. Okay, so there's some kind of animation, and they're giving us like a sense of the different missions that they're doing. Okay. I mean, it shows they can do animation, although it's not exactly amazing animation. I mean, it's okay, but like the frame rate is pretty low. I wouldn't call this like extremely high quality animation. It's nice. But it still fits into that artist launchpad perspective. So let's see if the roadmap gives us something else. Okay, preparing to launch, blast off. So launch the Lunartics animated series. Release the first episode of the Lunartics' most futile and embarrassing missions filled with nostalgic yet timely misfortunes that entertainment-starved humans won't be able to get enough of. Where are you launching those? What are the, like, you know, if they already have a series that they're about to launch, like, how will they distribute it? What's the model by which they will achieve? Like, do they have contacts with Netflix? Do they have some kind of or like with Amazon Prime or something, some kind of distributor? It's not enough to just make an animated series and put it on YouTube. You have to actually also get distribution to get big. So I'd be curious to see, like, I'd want to understand more about what the tie-ins with distribution platforms are, to see if they have a chance, even, like, you know, because if they don't even have any tie-ins with distribution platforms, that makes it extra hard for them to get visibility. Write a bio or backstory for your character. Maybe your Lunatics will pop up in a mission. So they want to encourage, like that's good from an artist launchpad perspective. They're inviting people to collaborate with them. As I wrote in my robot, like, if you want, by the way, an in-depth understanding of, at least of my understanding of the artist launchpads thing, have a look at the threads here. If you scroll all the way down to the bottom there, okay, there in the middle, you see project reviews, Robotos. And there you have a kind of review of what I felt was, at the time, a really good project. That's a really good example of this artist launchpad thing. And I talked to a bunch of people and interviewed them about what they saw in the project. And they told me, and I've kind of reproduced their insights here. So yeah, they're involving people in this. Yeah, I mean, the rub shoulders thing is like is the thing that basically becomes like, yeah, like I'm not seeing anything new there that tells me, like, I mean, the fact that they have worked on The Simpsons and so on, like, and a bunch of stuff, says that they might be able to get those contacts. But it's interesting they don't address that at all in the FAQ. Like, instead they have all these kind of boring questions like what is the min price and like when does the whitelist start and all that kind of stuff. Like, I'll bet there's also like, you know, what is an NFT or something. No, there isn't. At least they've missed that one. The critical questions for me would be, can they actually get distribution? Can they get this in front of enough people for it to become famous? If they can, this has the potential to be a successful artist launchpad project. If not, then it won't. I would point out that even what I would call a successful artist launchpad project like Roboto's, if we look at their price performance at the moment, like they went to 1.5 at some point on news, and they're now at 0.4. So they're holding, like they're trading between 0.4-ish, and if we look at all time instead of last 90 days, you can see the sort of trading range there, which is what I expect for a project that has value, but where the that has value. It's not just hype. There's something going on there that's valuable. So the price kind of goes up sometimes with hype and then comes back down. It's like, as I've described in my thread about, which one was it? Like, I have another thread that might be worth looking at there, which is I don't remember which one it is now. I think maybe Anatomy of a Long-Term Investment. No, it wasn't that one. There was a thread. I'll redraw the chart that, like, the little drawing that I had for this. But basically, when a project has value, you should expect the price chart to look something like this. It's kind of like going to go up and down, and it's going to kind of settle at some sort of value. It'll probably keep oscillating, and obviously if the project has value over the long term, like, you know, it might oscillate a lot like this, but then overall like tend to trend up if they're still building value and so on. But basically the eventual value is going to be non-zero. This is very different to a project that's basically what I call hot garbage, which is pure hype and there's no substance whatsoever, and there's nothing of value there other than the opportunity to resell it to somebody else for more money. And those projects tend to look quite similar at first, and they might have like some good peaks, but eventually they trend down to zero and they never recover from that zero. So like often you see an even simpler curve where they kind of just go like this. And I don't think that's the case here. That's not what I wanted. Here we're seeing it kind of go up and down and up and down and up and down. And yeah, to me, that's a sign of a project that has some value. Like right now, it's kind of depressed because it's just been through a crushing bear market, and the rest of the market, other than the blue chips, hasn't recovered yet. And maybe they haven't done very much recently. I don't know. You'd have to look into this particular project. But so that's the pattern that I expect when looking at the Lunartics. It's going to be an artist launchpad project. It's going to depend on how well they create that kind of space to allow people to come in and feel like contributing and feel like they can be creative here in terms of the community. But in terms of the commercial value, ultimately the only way that it gets out of that kind of pattern and out of that price range is if it gets big through the commercial success of the animated series. So that's what I would ask and dig into. Like, do I actually believe that these guys can get big? Because it's not just you make a cool animated series and bam, you're now famous. Just go on YouTube and you'll see like bazillions of animated stuff that nobody's ever seen. Like there's like basically infinite content already on YouTube. We don't need more content, but there's always a space for more content that manages to catch people's attention. So how are they going to catch people's attention? Is it by using the contacts that they built when they worked on the Simpsons and Futurama and that sort of stuff? Or like working and developing comedy, drama, and animated pilots for NBC, ABC, Fox, etc. If that's how they're going to do it, then I'd like to hear more about that. And like, yeah, I'd want to see a bit more of their plans. I have an IMDb link here. This guy has worked as a producer and writer and stuff on a bunch of stuff. So you might have the contacts to make it happen. I'd be curious to ask him those questions directly. Okay. I feel like I don't have that much else to say about the Lunartics. I think they're minting at the moment. So if that is a project that you seem interested in, maybe jump in their Discord and ask those questions, see if the founders are accessible to answer those questions. Usually if they're not, that's not a great sign in my view. But yeah, I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions right now about the project that you want to ask me, please feel free to pop them in the chat. If not, I'll see you tomorrow for another live stream and more charts. And hopefully what we'll see is that this continues going up and we end up with that pattern where we've kind of returned here and we start building up from here. That's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping for especially that the other side release actually does free up some liquidity and maybe we get like a little bit of a spike. And I hope it's not actually too big, because I think if it goes up like this, it will come back down. But we'll see. All right. I hope this was useful. Have a lovely day. Enjoy yourself. Live your life. And take care and see you tomorrow. Bye.